You might have seen headlines going around the internet today implying that JD Vance had somehow grown an actual set of adult male testicles and finally stood up for his wife and his family. And I am here to tell you, nope, not even close. Don't buy the hype. He is just as much of a slimy snake of a politician willing to side with racists that would be perfectly happy to see his wife, his kids put in front of a firing squad if that's what's necessary for him to win in 2028. And I'm going to prove it to you, okay? So here's one of the headlines I saw. This is from the Daily Beast, which I like, by the way. JD Vance finally loses it over attacks on his wife. Eat ass. And I saw that and I thought, oh my God, finally. I mean, as much as I hate the guy, the way that he allowed all these grotesque racists to just attack not only his wife and his kids, but him, calling him a fat race traitor and all that. Finally, he reached a breaking point, and he's not gonna be that grotesque politician anymore. He's gonna be an actual person, an actual man, and it sounds tough. But was it? The headline sounds good. Why don't we dive into what he actually said in this interview? And understand, he did this interview after the big Turning Point USA thing, where all of this fight over the racist, the factionalism in MAGA, he could have addressed it there and chose not to. Instead, he does a print interview afterward, and then he says, let me be clear. Anyone who attacks my wife, whether their name is Jen Psaki or Nick Fuentes, can eat ass. That's my official policy as Vice President of the United States. And that is enough of a statement to technically make a headline that says he tells Nick Fuentes to eat ass. But look at what he actually did there. Not only does he try to both sides, Nick Fuentes and the Groypers, who are non-stop attacking his wife and kids and his marriage in the most explicitly racist terms possible, with Jen Psaki, he put Psaki first. He implies that actually her attacks are worse, and I'm just gonna defend her against everyone. Well, everyone isn't implying that this is traitorous race mixing. That's Nick Fuentes. You're like hiding your criticism of this grotesque troglodyte after both siding it with an MS Now host or whatever. That is so pathetic. And not only that, he tries as hard as possible to get people later on in the interview to lighten up on Nick Fuentes, to not pay attention to what he's doing and how he is making the Republican base even more explicitly racist than it already was. He says, is Nick Fuentes really the problem in this country? He's a podcaster. He has a dedicated group of young fans, and some of them have been SC to my friends and family. Does that annoy me? Of course, but let's keep some perspective. For the past 5 to 10 years, I've watched one half of our political leadership go all in on the idea that discriminating against whites in college admissions and jobs is not just okay, but affirmatively good. So let me take the brief thing where I said, hey, those of you who are calling my wife an ass-eater and jeets, or I don't even know what that is, nonstop racist vitriol, I'm gonna briefly imply that that's a bad thing. And then I'm gonna give those people exactly what they want by saying the true problem is racism against white people, actually. So get off of Nick Fuentes' back, relax, let him take over the party. It's totally cool, because the real problem is anti-white racism, and we shouldn't spare more than a second's thought for Nick Fuentes. That's what earned him that headline when he is doing PR work for Nick Fuentes. He goes on to say, if you believe racism is bad, Fuentes should occupy 1 second of your focus. And the people with actual political power worked so hard to discriminate against white men should occupy many hours of it. Again, this is not a condemnation of the Groypers. This is a pitch to them. This is an appeal to them. Choose me, the fat race traitor as your avatar. And but just ignore my wife for a second. I know she's grotesque and disgusting because she's Indian or whatever, but doesn't matter, it's fine. Give me your vote, okay? And I'll finally stand up for white men. Won't that be grand? That's what he actually did. And as I said, he went that whole Turning Point USA thing No condemnation of any of it. He's not choosing sides. He doesn't care. Whatever. Make the party whatever you want it to be. Then I will reinvent myself as that thing, and you can make me president, because I have no standards. I have no ideology. I have no backbone, no values, no goddamn testes. I'll be whatever you need me to be. Just let me be president, please. That's the truth of it, JR. This is not him manning up. This is unmanning himself in front of the entire goddamn country.
I would love to know what it is, the conversations he must have with his wife when he goes home. Like, this is just getting worse, bro. It's weird. I remember Ted Cruz. It must be some kind of MAGA Trump requirement that in order to be in his good graces, you have to completely throw your family and specifically your wife under the bus and make sure you demean and make sure that you favor Donald Trump and his movement over your own family. Like, you have to sacrifice them for the glory of being next to his foot, next to his baby crusty ass toe. You have to be that guy. But also, don't forget, this is the same guy who was defending those young racist Republicans that they're just kids, just 35-year-old children talking about all the racism that they like to partake in, and the way that they're then part of the buildup of the party that he is now, I guess, supposed to be the head of. But I do wonder, does JD Vance really think anyone else is buying his BS? Does he think anyone can see what he's saying and see how he says it and think that he's like this charismatic figure that they told him he has to now become with his corny ass jokes to make him think that he's ingratiating himself to someone or that people relate to him? It's really weird because he keeps putting his face out there, and every time he puts his face out there and says something corny, everybody laughs at him and he goes, got him.
Yeah.
Nick Fuentes isn't that bad. Everyone sees what you're doing. Your kids see it, your wife's family sees it, and they probably hate your ass. You should probably watch your back.
I honestly don't think he even minds that. I think that if he can get Usha to just call this whole thing off, he can start appearing in public with Erica Kirk, and that'll just be simpler for him, whatever. Break up the family, who cares? It's not as important as the Oval Office. That's what I think. And I apologize, I gotta go on to the rest of this block because it's just too good. JD Vance only cares about 2028, and he doesn't care who he has to get to support him to make it happen. Explicit racists, people who hate his wife, hate his kids, that's all fine. And he knows how to try to appeal to them with just the explicit racism that they love. That is the point of politics for them. And so I believe this is at the Turning Point USA thing, where he's ignoring the whole Nick Fuentes thing. He's not gonna call him out, he's not gonna choose sides, he's not gonna have like a spine or something. He did make time to mock Jasmine Crockett in fairly explicitly racist terms. Take a look.
And Jasmine Crockett, oh, Jasmine Crockett. The record speaks for itself. She wants to be a senator, though her street girl persona is about as real as her nails.
Oh, gotta talk about Jasmine Crockett. Was Jasmine Crockett the one that's been calling your wife a jeet online? Is she the one with the racist memes against? Oh no, that's some of the people in the crowd actually that you want to vote for you. That's weird that you're talking about Jasmine Crockett instead. But there was a point to it. She's a street girl. She's got a street girl persona, and women like that with their fake nails. Isn't it ridiculous, the stupid nails they have? None of the women who are gonna come on stage here have anything fake, definitely. They're all super authentic, no filter necessary, but women like her with their fake nails. And that's just what he's doing right now. We're gonna talk more about Nicki Minaj later in the show. But he tweeted about Nicki Minaj's appearance at this thing, saying, Nicki Minaj said something at AmFest that was really profound. I'm paraphrasing, but she said, just because I want little black girls to think they're beautiful doesn't mean I need to put down little girls with blonde hair and blue eyes. We all got wrapped up over the last 4 years in zero-sum thinking. This was because the people who think they rule the world pit us against one another. Nicki Minaj rejects that. We all should. So first aside, set aside the people who think they rule the world when they have all of the political power in the country and still pitch themselves as victims or whatever. This is an exact perfect inversion of the truth. His base freak out when there is literally any representation of anyone who doesn't have blue eyes and blonde hair. You cannot show a black girl in a movie. A black woman can't star in a movie. It's unacceptable. It is zero sum. We get all of it. You get none of it. And now he implies that all they're doing is pushing back with all the times, you remember all the Disney movies that have said blonde hair and blue eyes, blech, It's disgusting. You remember how constantly that's what the plots of the movies are and everything? And you just can't turn anywhere without being told that white people are ugly and grotesque. You know how that's a thing that totally has actually happened? This is the politics, the racism politics of JD Vance. And this, JR, is how he is going to try to win this primary.
It's that same energy. You have to toss out people that you're supposed to be like and who you represent, like Nick Minaj was doing there, in order to be welcomed into the hate group, into the Nazi parties. It's the only way that it works. But no, so he talks about, did he say a street girl persona? That's what he said about Jasmine Crockett.
Persona.
Street girl, right? So he's saying that that's a persona, so therefore she's fake, right? She's not this street girl that he thinks because she's black that it's got to be a street girl, which obviously we see where the racism is. But go on with this BS. So she's fake, right? So does that mean she's actually, multiple degrees? She's got a law degree, that she's an elected official. Is she really smart and accomplished, or is she a street girl? Because you definitely won't want to admit, you and your murdered friend Charlie Kirk won't want to admit that black women have any accomplishments or a brain to function enough to do things much better than you can do it. Which one is it, bro? All this guy does is come up with the next line he can pitch, and none of it makes any sense. Is she an unaccomplished hood girl, or is she really smart and knows her way around politics much better than you do because she's actually paying attention to her constituents? They don't have any answers for these basic questions because all they're peddling is hate, and hateful, bigoted people don't think very clearly. That's why they're like that, because they have a superiority complex based in the reality of their inferiority to the people that they hate.
100%. Yeah, you don't have to love Jasmine Crockett. You don't have to agree with her on everything. I don't agree with her on everything. There's some very significant things that I don't like about her politically. She's obviously intelligent. She's obviously well educated. That's what bothers them. They don't hate her and AOC because they're stupid. They hate how obviously and undeniably smart they are, and it sticks in their craw every day. But the other side of it, and I'll end on this, is almost anyone, if they want to try to imply that Jasmine Crockett has a persona, you could try to do that or whatever. But the fakest ass politician in America is going to try to do that, JD Vance, who there's nothing authentic about him. Every single thing is artifice and reinvention and radically changing who you are to chase a political trend, to chase a moment, to chase the party, a voting block. You're gonna try to talk about authenticity. I used to think that like Ted Cruz was the oiliest politician. Ted Cruz has a number of things that have been consistent throughout his politics. I may hate them, but there's actually things that he believes. There's nothing about JD Vance that is real, nothing that is authentic. And so get the hell out of here trying to imply that you can say a goddamn thing about Jasmine Crockett.